Hello and welcome to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
And I'm Buzz. And what are we covering in this week's episode?
So, in this episode we're going to be discussing the nature of fandom.
Oh, we're back on Superfan.
Yes, that's part of our Superfan series to discover what exactly is it
that
makes a Superfan. If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
Here we are back in the studio. Again, as you've said, we are venturing, we're on our quest to find out
into the multiverse that is fandom.
Now, what is ultimately a superfan?
Yes.
Many, many times you'll hear on TV, on the radio, places where they'll comment and they say, "Oh, we've got Janet in. She's a super fan.
We've got Keith in, who's a super fan of crockery.
Yeah. And you know, Sarah's a super fan of Harry Potter, or
Star Wars, Doctor Who,
but
all these things."
Ultimately, what we want to try and find out is what is a super fan.
Yeah.
Now, we have had some episodes already. We've had people like Toby Jules in telling us all about his experiences.
Wow,
with
that
fandom.
was what,
While ago
70,
now.
80 episodes ago?
Exactly.
Crazy.
And we are returning and seeing if we can, I don't know, shed any light on it once again, because we went to a Comic-Con.
Exactly.
Where, as we will explain, we asked questions and delved into this super fandom to find out.
Yeah, it was very interesting because this question came up quite a lot whilst we were there, and it kind of sparked quite a lot of conversations in that fact.
Exactly. But before we head down the trail of super fandom, it's time for
Weird and Wonderful.
As you know, this week on the 8th of April, the United States and Canada all experienced the totality of the solar eclipse.
Oh, yes. That's interesting you bring up the moon again, because wasn't it recently on the TV they were talking about moon time?
Moon time.
How there wasn't a standardised moon time.
That's right. The time on the moon is slightly different from time on the Earth, and so... since you brought that up, let's just briefly go over this. So you've got to standardise moon time, because if you're going to have... The moon doesn't actually belong to any specific country on the planet Earth, so whoever goes up there, if you're all working off of different times, that's going to be very awkward to coordinate landings and takeoffs and things like that. So what you want to do is standardise time, so all the computers and everything else and the guidance systems all work off that standardised time.
Well, that makes sense.
So that's what that's about. But anyway, we're talking briefly about the solar eclipse. Now, with the solar eclipse, you might say, "Oh, well, that is quite weird and wonderful itself," but that's not my weird and wonderful story. The fact is that on the run-up to the solar eclipse, the good old doomsday preppers out there were getting really, really
antsy.
This is it. This is the big one. We're going to suffer from a massive EMP after the moon's shadow moves out the way of the sun, and
etc.
This is the harbinger of doom, and we're all going to get ready for Armageddon. Which obviously never happened.
We're here, so yes, it didn't happen.
Anyway, but what did come up on the news regarding that, the doomsday community wants people to live in 575 bunkers for when all hell breaks out.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
Which didn't happen to break out, because...
were these bunkers actually made?
Well, that's why this is the weird and wonderful story, you see. A doomsday community is searching for residents to live in its 575 bunkers, which can reportedly fit up to 10,000 people.
So these bunkers have actually been made?
Oh, definitely. It's actually a repurposed old army base, as I'll get to.
Oh, okay.
Let me explain, Zak. In the Black Hill Mountains range in South Dakota, a former army base which stored munitions has been repurposed into bunkers in case of global self-destruction casually happening within the next 90 seconds. And I mention the next 90 seconds because there is what's known as the Doomsday Clock, which is a metaphorical watch invented to show how close we are to Armageddon. At the present moment, it's set to 90 seconds to midnight.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, potentially like...
And I think I might have mentioned this in a previous podcast, because it's the closest the clock has ever come to the end of times. You see, so you can understand...
But how do you gauge this clock?
Well, there you go. Story for another time, but the point is, the Doomsday Preppers, you can imagine...
They're ready for it.
They're all ready for it. They're like, we're 90 seconds to Armageddon.
I suppose that's the thing, it's with this, it's the fact that it almost feels like they want the end of the world to happen.
Some of them probably do.
But for the majority, it's more about being prepared for an eventuality.
Well,
but not necessarily the end of
doomsday.
times.
Well, anyway, this is really taking it to the end of times kind of end of the scale. If there was what do you have? Like a
clock.
Well, a clock. No, if you had a gauge, you know, this is kind of up
like
in
a petrol gauge.
This is up in the red zone. You know,
the revs on a car. Or something.
Anyway, roughly the size of a city, the base is designed to be an epic humanitarian survival project. However, it's not just for the top 1%.
Okay.
Because most people obviously talk about, it's the elite.
It's the elite.
Yes. So Dante Vincinto, I think that might be how he pronounces his name, the executive director of Vivos, which operates the shelter complex, told AbsolutelyBusiness.com average people can now reserve their spot for when all hell breaks loose. Vivos, now known as an epic humanitarian survival project, is fully prepared for whatever and whenever events may unfold. Vincinto said members of the Doomsday Group are not preppers or the elite, but well-educated, average people who want to protect their families during uncertain times. There we go. He goes on. People have to apply for membership to live out the end of times in the shelters, which, according to Vivos, can resist the force of 10 successive earthquakes, 676 degrees centigrade heat, and 450 mile-per-hour winds, and the effects of a magnetic pole shift. Some of the Armageddon bunkers are designed to outlast nuclear war, viral pandemics, climate change, the purge-grade anarchy, killer comets, genetic engineering gone wrong, and a mystery planet X that could destroy most of humanity.
I love it, those like subtle like movie references there. The purge level anarchy.
And it's supposedly anybody could apply for membership, which involves specifying which skills and expertise you can bring to the bunker community. So there you go.
I assume this is in America.
It's in Dakota, yes.
Okay.
And Dakota, funny enough, is in America. So so there's 575 bunks. I don't know. I don't think they're all filled up, but
apply now.
Apply now. Just let them know your survival skills and what you can bring to the community, and you should be able to survive something even as bad as genetic engineering gone wrong. There you go.
That is a certainly weird and wonderful story.
It's definitely weird and wonderful, but I thought it was fitting because of obviously there was so much ancient Aztec fears about the end of the world, because obviously
that was the thing on the TV. It was a guy from BBC News was reporting saying hopefully there won't be any Aztec sacrifices.
Yeah, hopefully, so back in history, the Aztecs used to sacrifice people, to try and stop the sun disappearing, and he said, and hopefully we won't have any of that today. So, hopefully, where are you, man? What's going on? Anyway, that's the weird and wonderful. We're all here. The solar eclipse happened, and yes, it's just the moon passing between us and the sun. It's nothing to worry about. And on with this episode, in the search of super fandom.
Yes.
Right, we went to a Comic-Con. I'll say we went to a Comic-Con because generally we don't go to Comic-Cons and pay. What I mean by that is that being that we are performers, we generally get invited to go to Comic-Cons in order to entertain the public.
Exactly. Well, a prime example of that would be, that must have been a few years ago now. We went to the XL Centre in London for MCM Comic-Con. And we were dressed up as Blake Seven characters, wandering around, saying hello to people,
helping out with the Blake Seven
signing.
Yeah, for the existing cast. And that was nice because people coming up and getting cast members to sign.
A slightly surreal experience in that matter was the fact that we were actually put on stage.
Well, that's right. We had
helping out with one of the kind of talks that was going on.
They have the big Q&As, don't they? And again, it has to be said, we generally don't go to the Q&As when we're at events.
No.
Because we're usually working, entertaining the crowd. And on this occasion, we were invited to go on stage and escort each of the surviving cast members from Blake 7 onto stage to a rapturous round of applause from the audience. And then we stayed on stage, which had a kind of funny thing happen because suddenly the organiser of the Q&As was getting you to take
DVDs
to the audience members.
Who ask questions and things.
Which was quite hilarious because you had your Federation Trooper helmet on and the lights were down.
They're kind of like dark stormtroopers.
And you were trying to see where the hell you were going.
Yeah, it's dark.
Meanwhile, I'm standing there on the back.
Trying to balance this thing on my head.
Well, I'm standing there and gosh, it was so hot, wasn't it? Sweating. But anyway, that was a good
So getting down to the nitty-gritty of this, it's the fact that we, through these episodes, have been trying to define what it is to be a superfan. And to understand that, we want to ask ourselves, what is the nature of fandom? What is it that gets people to go to these events, go to these signings, go and partake in all these things?
Yeah, and this is interesting because I have to say, I think I've been to one Comic-Con where I've actually paid as a member of the public to go, and I was very kind of, I don't know if I wanted to pay the money to go, because apart from sort of looking around, I don't.
Well, certainly the merchandise aspect of it.
Yeah, I know.
Which is of the things to go to Comic-Con for, or similar conventions. That for me is kind of more the reason to go, as opposed to the meeting people.
I could kind of understand that. Okay, so let's deal with that. There's another Comic-Con that we were looking at perhaps going to, because it was a Comic-Con / Toy Fair.
Okay, yeah.
And we are, you could say fans, if you like to collect vintage toys, don't we?
Vintage toys, collectibles,
stuff like that.
Film memorabilia.
However, the ticket price was about £30 a head, and we thought, well, actually, if I pay £30, you pay £30, we've already spent £60.
Yeah.
And then if we're going to a toy fair, and the toy fair people know how much their stuff's worth, then they'll ramp up the prices anyway.
Well, this is very much the thing. Going to the event we did quite recently.
Yep.
There was a small selection of like collectibles and things from very beloved franchise. Okay, Doctor Who. It was Doctor Who. So I'm pretty au fait with all these Doctor Who collectibles and things and bits and bobs. And how much they're worth. And yes, they did have things there that I didn't have, things that I did want.
Yep.
But I did look to the pricing. Now, the pricing on these things, like, okay, an example, as we're going with Doctor Who, a History of the Daleks figure set. Now, the shelf price, when they originally come out at B&M home stores, of all the places, they would be around that kind of £20-25 as an upper estimate. But obviously there's only limited numbers of those, and it can be a bit of a hunt.
The scalpers clear the shelves.
It might be a bit of a hunt to kind of go around to different stores, because they're not guaranteed to be in there. So it's kind of a bit of luck as well as a bit of hunting around.
Yep.
That, again, I'm happy to pay like 25 quid, but you go there and by this point they've completely like sold out of all the shops and everything.
So what we talking
price wise, they're like double prices.
50 quid.
50 quid, yeah.
Right. But
base price.
Let's just say you've paid to go in. You've already paid £30 on top of that for the pleasure of getting in there.
Yeah. In some cases, it could be less or more.
That kind of puts me off. I said we're fans of vintage and collectibles, but actually, I think that's probably more that we're collectors. Is a proper term for what we do with that stuff.
Yeah.
We're collectors. But anyway, so you're going to an event, and obviously we were there dressed in costumes and entertaining the crowd.
Yeah.
And I love doing that.
Yeah,
and it was a charity event, and we weren't getting paid for it. We've just given up our time, and we're having a wonderful time. And the kids are loving having their photographs taken with the characters and things like this. And that was fantastic. But it was still a case of, okay, what draws people to an event like this that makes them sort of want so much to go to the Q&A sessions, and ultimately that that need to queue up for a considerable amount of time to take a photograph with a celebrity and get a photograph and a signed photograph. And of course we were there and they were doing it in like batch lots. It was like, can we have everybody with an orange ticket first?
Yeah.
And we were basically where the signings were. So when you had these queues, we could still kind of entertain the crowds while they were waiting, which was a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
But I kind of sort of scratched my head
for the time and management involved. It seems a very kind of, I want to say, an artificial situation to kind of put yourself in.
Yeah. Well,
I don't understand the draw.
I did get talking to a few fans, and I did ask them exactly this question. Are you a super fan, and what is a super fan? And didn't really get any clear answers on that. And they were saying about, I'm happy to queue up because I suppose much like we say about collecting vintage toys, they like to collect autographs.
Yeah, and understandable. If it's something that you are passionate about, then if that's something you're into, then of course.
Yeah, and I'm not quite... See, autographs is an odd thing because I've never been into autographs myself. And because obviously we've worked on so many movies over the years and we've met so many, actors, Hollywood stars, whatever you want to call them. I've sat there, had a chat with people like Brad Pitt and God knows,
I've been to Angelina Jolie's birthday party.
That's it.
It's always going to come up, isn't it?
It's going to come up. But the thing is, we get to meet them because of our jobs.
Yeah.
And so
it's more of a natural situation.
And it kind of takes away the need to
pursue it.
To feel you're making a connection through getting an autograph.
With that kind of 2 minutes of kind of interaction with the star.
A slightly coming down from the blockbuster movies and the Hollywood film stars. We've done a lot of EastEnders over the years.
Okay, okay.
And so this is crossover because of the autographs. We'll go into the studios in the morning. Yeah. Before everybody's heading off to work, and then we spend the day on set interacting with the main crew cast and chatting to people. I've had some very bizarre conversations with
Danny Dyer.
Danny Dyer and things. But then you come out of the studio, and as you come out of the studio at Elstree, there's like a dedicated group of fans there that are waiting at the end of the day with their autograph books in the hope that they'll get an autograph and see one of their what would you call it?
Idols?
Idols, somebody that they idolise. They're desperate. I want to see them and go, look, I've seen Danny Dyer in his car.
But
and it's like, well, I've just been working with them all day.
In the same instance. Obviously, they're coming in their kind of blacked out window cars and everything. And we're just kind of walking in freely, in and out. Yeah. But they're not really like...
they're not interested in
us at all.
Well,
whereas we appear on screen with them, beside them, in the same episodes that they are watching. And
Well, it goes back to the movies as well.
Yeah.
It's... Again, we're kind of what I call. I've worked in the business 25 years. It's a quarter of a century, and working in the area that I predominantly worked in my younger years was doing the action sequences, doing the big fight sequences and battle sequences and
special action.
Whenever they needed people to
get down to the nitty-gritty,
who had the experience and skill set to work alongside or with the actual stunt teams. And I've described it such as if you thought of a cowboy and western film and you've got a barroom brawl in a bar, that you might have a couple of stunt guys which are going to fight up on the balcony. And one of them's going to get punched, fall over the balcony and crash into a table. Meanwhile, downstairs,
you got the scuffle.
I'm there punching people and getting punched and throwing people around, and then what we don't like to use these terms, but the extras are the ones that are sort of like cowering in the background and hiding behind tables and things.
Looking at what's
going on. So you've kind of got this kind of
it's like a hierarchy, isn't it?
So you got your stunt guys. Well, you'd have your main characters that are being focused upon. So you got maybe two,
or your talent in quotation marks.
The talent is the main focus for the camera. You got the stunt guys who are getting paid to take the
for those cutaways, for those exciting shots.
You got us that are fighting around the actual main cast, and then, as say, the background artists are the ones in the deep blurred background. So you're there all the time, and that's the thing. Like you just brought this up, and it's making my memories come. You know, I've got so many times where I've been there on screen with the main actors. Mm-hmm. So and I've sat there and thinking, I'm in a cinema. I've seen the movie now. And there I am, and now I might be a zombie, and I'm being shot in the head next to her, or I'm attacking a character.
Yeah,
I've been killed so many times, or I'm in there in a prison cell cheering on Batman getting out of the thing, and you're there with the main cast, and there I am on screen, massive big me.
Yeah,
and
a 50-inch bus.
50-inch bus. And you think, this is really weird because this film's being shown across the world.
Yeah, multiple different countries.
In thousands of cinemas.
Yeah.
So I'm appearing there. Nobody
cares two hoots.
Cares two hoots of who I am, because I am one of the invisible people.
And thus, what is the distinction between someone who is so, idolized, as opposed to somebody who's essentially doing the same thing but in a smaller
the amount of times I've
portion.
Yeah, I've been. I love being typecast. I don't mind being typecast, shall I say? And
I think it's an outdated terminology anyway. To be honest,
you reckon?
Yeah.
Well, the amount of times I get contacted to be, either military or a thug or a prisoner.
Great.
I've done prisoners. I've been prisoners in Batman movies, prisoners in Paddington movies. But it's the great thing. So you appear on screen, but nobody obviously actually sees you. They see straight through you.
I have had a few instances where people have actually gone, hang on, that's Zak. Which was quite fun.
That's probably because they know you and
have
spotted you.
They do, yes, okay. Admittedly, there's that.
And that happened to me a lot with EastEnders, because I'd get texts coming through saying, "Are you back on EastEnders again? I just saw you on."
Well, it was,
I did a friend of mine that was in Spain who, as soon as he got to Spain, he turned the TV on in his villa, and I think it was me on one channel and you on another channel.
Oh yeah, there was one weird occasion where I was on two channels at once. It was EastEnders BBC and then Holby City on another channel or whatever.
Yeah. So at the Comic-Con we were at, Jenna Redgrave was there, and she obviously worked on Holby City. Mm-hmm. I worked on Holby City, and I've worked with
But it was there for the Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, it was there for the Doctor Who fans, because she plays
Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. Can you tell I'm a Doctor Who fan yet?
Exactly. Well, there you go.
95 episodes down.
Okay, so I said hello. I haven't seen you since a particular episode when we were on Holby City working on that. But the thing is, everybody around me would never recognise me from working on it, even though I've got screenshots of me with.
You have done
her.
Days, weeks worth of work and commitment to this industry.
Yeah, and get paid for it as well.
Yeah. It's interesting that, beyond that, there's this established fandom for even the most obscure things, and yet you don't really see an extra thing, much like signings for these main cast members.
So there's the thing, people were queuing up to have the main these cast members' signatures, and
for a decent amount of time. We're not talking 5 minutes. We are talking 30, 40 minutes,
and they were paying
in a queue,
sort of £30-40 as well for the privilege. And we noticed some of them went up more than once.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. So, I don't understand it. You've already just said you're a Doctor Who fan, and I've been a Doctor Who fan since I remember my earliest remembrance of Doctor Who in the early 70s. But I still don't have the inclination to want to queue up and get an autograph. Now, I'm not being negative to people who do want to do that. What I want to discover is
understand
what it is that is such a
draw.
Now, talking to one fan when I was there, they said, their real kind of diamond level signature, if they could get it, one person in the whole world, if they could get that signature and just have the experience of having their photograph taken with them, Michelle Pfeiffer, because she was Catwoman in Batman.
Okay. Batman Returns, but it was a Batman movie, and this gentleman said, if he could do it, he would queue, he would pay diamond level
privileges to queue all day long if he knew that by the end of the day he'd get that signature and photograph.
Like, so to get into the event, to then start queuing, to then...
by the end of the day...
By the end of the day...
As long as he got that signature and photograph...
He was happy.
He said it would be the pinnacle of everything.
Wow.
That would be the amazing thing. And that reminded me of a friend who went to a Comic-Con who wanted to get the signature. I can't remember which particular celebrity it was that wanted to get a signature, but what I remember about it was that they were really, really getting upset with themselves because the celebrity they went to go and get the signature from at the Comic-Con hadn't arrived. And it was like the whole day is going to be ruined. My whole trip here is going to be ruined. And then the celebrity arrived late, and they did get the signature, and it was like the day has been saved.
Yeah, it's this idea that fandom means so much that it can like make or break an entire day.
But is that where fandom is becoming obsession?
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
And is that healthy or not? Is that being a super fan, or is that being, if that was in normal life, would that be you being a stalker?
Well,
not trying to be offensive to anybody, but is that being so? My whole day is going to be ruined, or the opposite? I would queue up to the end of time just to get this one signature and a photograph. Is that healthy?
Well, okay. So potentially, if we're going back to an example for this event this Doctor Who event we went to, at the end of the day, there was like a mass photo session.
Don't I remember it?
And I found it very interesting after the fact that, okay, so talking about it first, it seemed like this photo session went on and on and on and on.
Let's put it in perspective, okay? They had the celebrities, and because we've already mentioned Doctor Who, they had a TARDIS on stage, and the organisers asked us, the performers, they wanted at least 10 of us in costume to stand there like a backdrop by the TARDIS, so that the main celebrities could stand in front of the TARDIS for this photo session. Yeah. And we went, okay. So cool. we went down. The organisers approached us. Can you go? Yes, can. Went down there. And then, as you said, it started, and it went on, and it went on.
Oh, it's just coming to the end of the queue. No, it isn't.
No, well, that was the thing, because this was like an opportunity for people who have already queued up and paid their money to get an individual photograph with an individual celebrity.
Or a signature as well.
Signature, whatever. It was the end of the day where you can then go and have your photo taken with all of the celebrities from that charity do. And they had that queue, and they were asking people to put their last amount, whatever change you've got in the buckets, because it was a charity event, fair enough. And then they had a system where they were giving over their mobile phone to an organiser, who would then take the photograph, give them their mobile phone back while they grabbed the next mobile phone. And so,
rinse, repeat,
That's it. And we must have stood there for about 100 photos.
Easy.
And we were watching, there was a lady at the end of the line in the distance who, she had a TARDIS costume on, didn't she? And you could see her hat because it had the light on top of her hat. Yeah. And she was getting closer and closer, and it was like, that's the end of the line. There's nobody behind her.
Okay, cool.
And then it got to the front, and then a second wave came round. Yeah. And that kept going. And this is like my feet are starting to kill me at this point. And then people were running around for a second.
and it was the fact that it got to the point where the actors, the people were there to get photos with, they were getting this tired thing with the legs, where all their assistants come over and everything's like,
would you like some water?
Would you like some water? Would you like a fresh tank of oxygen or something? Something crazy or ridiculous. But so it's almost like the actors had the obligation to kind of stand there and pose for them as opposed to people posing with them.
Yeah, well, I would say the difference between the two is the photo session where people were passing their money over to the actors, they were getting their money for the signatures. This is they weren't getting paid for it moment. Yeah. So by the end of it, they were getting
pretty knackered. I mean, I remember walking off with one of the main actors when it actually finished, and I said, "Ooh, we managed to get to the end of that," and all I got was a grunt. It was like, as he walked off back up to the green room.
Oh, but I'm sure that the fans were happy.
Of course, and that's the point. Is it? I assume it's for the fans.
It's for the fans and for the charity, yeah. So,
and I suppose there's that kind of that line between like whether or not something's too much effort and whether or not it's not.
But it still didn't explain to me, even after speaking to people, quite what the whole fandom, the super fandom.
But I can understand if people like something, they want to cherish that tiny part. They want to be part of that.
Okay, let me.
Is it the community? Is it being attached to the property that they're a fan of?
It must be something to do with feeling, and it must be something to do with feeling a personal attachment to the cast members in this case.
Yeah.
But let's just look at it from a different angle. Let's think of other things just off the top of my head, things that people are fans of. People are fans of like football. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like rugby. I could say rugby. I don't follow it greatly, but let's say football because I know nothing about football.
Yeah.
So if I had a famous football player
standing
right next to me.
Well, Buzz. No, I'm joking.
I could chat to them just like a normal person, because they are a normal person regardless.
Yeah.
What we talk about.
It's like a sheen. It's like a sheen of
but I wouldn't know.
Celebrity sheen on people.
But that is kind of like how thin celebrity is.
Yeah. It's just how you're perceived.
How you're perceived, because if you meet somebody and you don't know who they are.
Yeah. If it's a minority fandom or something, as you say.
I just don't know who they are. Then they have no celebrity.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. They're not a celebrity in my world because I don't know them.
Yeah.
To be a celebrity.
Whereas you'd have a what we're talking about, Superfan.
Yeah.
Right next to you saying, Are you mad? Are you mental?
Well, why aren't you sort of getting your photo taken?
Why aren't you going completely ecstatic by this situation?
And I'd be going, but I don't know who this is.
I mean, I can take the picture for you if you like. For a small fee. I'm joking.
You'd have people that go to Formula One racing and they sit there in the stands and their car goes meow, past. It's like, and then wait for it to come around another lap. Meow, past. Don't get it. And the same with golf.
Yeah.
People queue
That's
up with
just walking ruined. Yeah. Sorry for all those golfers I know.
Yeah, golfers. But the point is, I suppose maybe it's because we're doers. I'd rather be doing it, and I suppose because for so many years we participate in events where we are doing stuff and entertaining the public.
Yeah.
That being on the public side of things seems kind of
because I mean, in that instance of like when we have in those instances been part of the public, it's not like we have been there from the opening to the closing of an event. It would be we've walked around for a few hours now. Okay, we're done. Let's go home.
Yeah.
Whereas being part of the actual foundation of the event,
you're there 2 hours beforehand.
2 hours beforehand.
And an hour after paying away. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe looking at this from a different angle, on the fan side, could it be said that people would do this to line up for all these signings and everything as a form of competitiveness?
Well,
to kind of get a one-up to show off something in comparison to other fans?
I am this person's number one fan because I go to every single one of their shows.
Yeah, is it like a form of one-upmanship potentially? For some?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe there are groups
of people. Just trying to look at this from a different way.
Maybe there are groups of people that know each other. They'd have to know each other in order to kind of have that one-upmanship. But if you don't know, if you're not part of a group like that, then maybe it's just.
Well, we're in the age of social media, so you can show off your selfies, your photos, or everything. Oh, look, I'm standing with Jason Momoa. It cost me £250, but I'm standing in with him right now.
Yes,
and you're not
for that 30 seconds.
Yeah, to a degree,
he's my friend.
There must be a proportion of fandom as a whole that has that idea that if I am standing next to this person getting a signature or whatever, I am a bigger fan than you.
Well, see, again, the signature, I don't if you're a member of a film cast or whatever, a recognisable celebrity, and you're charging for your signatures, etc., and a photograph, then good on you. I mean, not being funny.
If you can make it work, good on you.
Yeah, I mean, as we've already said,
we are not discussing this from a FOMO perspective.
Yeah, no,
we're not get fear of missing out.
That's it.
That is not how we're approaching this. We're approaching this with genuine questions.
If you ask me if I landed a role, which elevated me to public notoriety, would I or would I not sign things for money? Well, I think at an event that I've been asked to go to, then yes, I would. I'd be quite happy to take that as my fee to give people pleasure. Yeah. But if I was on the red carpet and just walking down, I'm not charging people for signing their things.
No.
Okay, they're getting that pleasure. They get gaining pleasure from saying, oh, can you sign this, please? Can you sign it? And I would, because I understand it's the fans that make the movies. It's the fans that go to the cinemas. It's the fans that watch the TV programs. It's the fans that go to the Comic-Cons. It's the fans getting enjoyment out of it. So is it that maybe it's that enjoyment? Maybe again, right from the beginning of this quest to find out what a super fan is, it's not to beat anybody down about the fandom, but it's to try and understand it. And maybe it's the pleasure that it gives an individual, which is the drug, if you can see what I mean. That makes them excited, puts a smile on their face, makes them feel that they've had a special moment. And then, once they've felt that euphoria, maybe they can't get away from replicating that euphoria. They say, I really enjoyed that. I've got that photograph and that signature of
and
me.
that memory.
And that memory. And it's like, wow, that was a really good day.
I want to do it again.
I want to do it again. And the more times you do it, then I dare say, I mean, I've mentioned this before, but I do remember a documentary by Tom Felton, and he said that he recognised this middle-aged lady who literally, wherever he goes to do signings, she would come...
Around the world,
she would follow him. And that's when I dare say, a celebrity starts to recognise the face of a fan, because I dare say celebrities, when they've got like 500 fans queuing up in front of them, and each time they're signing it, and then, as what I noticed at the weekend, the fans would run around the table, put their arm around the celebrity, have their photo taken, say thank you and go. And then that person would remember that moment with the celebrity, but the celebrity would then move on to the next fan. So unless you've got to the point where you've seen the same fan again and again and again, you're just not going to remember all those faces, are you? But then you're going to, like Tom Felton, you're going to at some point have a fan where you'll go, oh, Janice, nice to see you again. But even he said he didn't know whether that lady who was following him around the world and getting his photo and getting his signature was doing that because she was a fan of Tom Felton or a fan of the character Draco Malfoy, which he said, that isn't me.
Exactly. Well, for the most part, a character that somebody's playing is the only kind of version of someone that anyone is actually going to see.
So this is where I was going to go with this. This is really interesting that we're kicking this around, because so at this convention we went to, is it that somebody is seeing somebody as, say, Doctor Who? They want to go and see this Doctor Who, or is it they want to see the actor because they followed the actor in lots of other things that they've been in, or is it solely because they're Doctor Who?
Now, if you ask me this question, I would probably come from the fact of more about the character than the person.
Well, nobody's actually going to know the person, are they?
Exactly. Because my only kind of experience with said person would be through the medium in which I have
interacted with them.
Well, not interacted, seen them.
I see.
Seen them, listened to them.
From the perspective of somebody who's watched, rather than somebody who's
to become a fan, you've got to have seen, watched, whatever.
Yeah. So if it was Tom Baker, you know Tom Baker as the Doctor.
As the Doctor, I would be going to get his signature
because he's the Doctor. But you don't actually know. Tom Baker himself.
Well, that's the thing. Is it the person or is it the character in this sense? Because if you didn't attach the name to a character, are you going to go and get Tom Baker's signature, photo, whatever, if he wasn't Doctor Who?
Right. So would that work the same, though, if you were talking a football star? Because a football star isn't a character exactly, are they? They
are a performer,
yes. They are performing. And I was going to say that to a pop star as well, but I suppose even that, say you're a Swiftie and you follow Taylor Swift.
And if she wasn't a singer...
She is putting on a performance, but you don't know Taylor Swift...
normal.
Outside of the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see what I'm saying there?
I do see what you're saying. There are those people that have said to me before, when they said, you never actually want to meet your heroes.
Type of effort because of that. And through personal experience or whatever, it is very interesting actually seeing what famous people or celebrities have to actually say outside of the camera, or in sometimes you're just lucky enough to bump into someone at an airport or on the street or even at one of these events or whatever, but no strings attached. You haven't paid for anything. It's just happened.
Oh yes.
And then you talk to them, and is it their personality and things don't quite live up to your expectation? Doesn't quite gel with the way you think about life and things?
Well,
because sometimes that can kind of tarnish your opinion on something.
I dare say it can do. I haven't had I can think of off the top of my head any kind of negative experience. I mean, my interaction with most people that obviously everybody would say is celebrity is through work.
It's all right, Buzz. It's all right, Buzz.
So it's when I've been on set and you've just happened to finish doing a take and you've just got a moment before maybe they're resetting the cameras for a different angle or something, and you might have a moment where you're standing there having a chat with the lead actor or actress, and it's just all pleasant. I think sometimes some actors can be a little bit more reserved. So when I was working on Dark Knight Rises, I remember I was on set with Tom Hardy and Christian Bale, and I did at one point walk around the corner because there was a little break and I was just going to go off and go get myself a drink of water, and I virtually bumped into Christian Bale, but he looked really that look where I'm not even going to talk to him because if I say anything, he doesn't. You're
gone. And it can sometimes, unfortunately, be a lot like that on film sets.
But I think because I'm a equity registered performer myself, I think at that moment I walked around the corner and he was probably in the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and
he's a method actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is, and I think he was in the zone, and his look and his scowl wasn't intentionally meant to be, that way. It was just don't talk to me because I'm remembering my lines and I've got to be in this.
I'm in the mindset.
I'm in the mindset. So it's like give them a wide berth.
Type of deal, yes.
Whereas other actors can just literally click it of a fingers. They can go from their performance to for example, Paddy Constantine, you worked with him on House of the Dragon. Yeah. And you were telling me how he was really, in between takes, he was really talkative. Yeah. There was no kind of, don't talk to me. Yeah. I'm in the zone.
But it's very interesting, kind of the ideas and ways different actors and things approach these kind of situations. Some are very much, okay, I've done my take now, bye-bye, I'm going back to my caravan type thing. Or it's I'm going to stay here, I'm going to eat food with you guys on the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I've been that way. I've quite merrily, sat there having meals with people.
But in that, there's no kind of delineation in fandom. It's not the person who's being judged. It's the character. Do people go there for the character or the person? It's very much that case.
Exactly.
Despite, however, how friendly or how potentially nasty. I'm not saying people are nasty, but they could be nasty because there's that scale of being talkative, friendly, or I'm going to be isolationist.
I'm going to use the word that some actors and actresses, everybody's called an actor these days, aren't they?
Unless they want to be an actress.
Unless they want to identify as an actress, but most of the time these days, as you notice on media, they always call them actors now. Yeah. Actor and actress. But what I was going to say is you do get ones that are a bit diva-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that line, isn't it?
It's the line. That, but if you are a fan, you are only going to be presented to the person with a smile on their face who's signing your photograph and giving you a selfie.
So in that sense, could you equate it to, instead of you posing with an actor, it's the actor posing with you,
for you because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Well, that would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Whereas in my instances with celebrities and things, I much prefer the off-the-cuff, natural situations as opposed to these kind of artificially mass kind of organised events.
But
of course, not everyone is going to be lucky enough to have those.
Not everybody. Not everybody works in the film and TV industry. Not everybody has. One day where you're, as you say, you suddenly go on set and you find you're at an impromptu birthday party for Angelina Jolie.
For instance, you walk across a bridge and see Derek Jacobi there.
I remember doing that down in Camden Market.
It's just off the cuff, not filming attached or anything.
In fact, I was on the way to casting at the time.
Exactly.
And
but that's just off the cuff.
I remember that one because I was going for a casting for a job for the company Patronus, working with Hamilton.
Lewis
Hamilton. And as I'm going there, then I walk over a bridge and there's Derek Jacobi.
Yeah.
It's about 7:00 in the morning. It's like, oh, good morning, and he's just give me but it was the morning.
Now you have that experience and that story to tell. So many years on.
I recognised him and I knew who he was. I didn't stop him. I didn't badger him and say,
"Can I have a selfie?
Can I have a selfie? Can I have your autograph?" It
Now,
was just like, "Good morning."
Did his reaction to this situation?
I think he was probably more surprised that I'd actually said good morning to him.
Yeah.
Because you know me, don't you? Wherever I'm going, and I have people walking towards me on the street.
Yeah.
I always say,
it can be funny.
Good afternoon, good morning, things, because this day and age, people try and look away from you or look at their feet and try not to engage. Yeah. And I make a point of engaging with people because I think actually that cheers people up if you suddenly say, good afternoon.
Well, it can be that kind of reaction. You don't know what you're going to get.
And they go, oh, good afternoon. And it's sort of like you get an answer.
So in this
and I think with Derek Jacobi, it was just like, oh my God, somebody just spoke to me.
Yeah. But in his reaction, did that tarnish your opinion of him?
Not at all. Not at all in the slightest.
Still appreciate.
He's a fantastic actor.
Fantastic actor, yeah. Okay.
And he's probably a fantastic guy, but I don't know him personally, so how can I tell?
Exactly.
If I went to a signing where Derek Jacobi was signing because he was playing, he played the part of the Master.
Yeah.
I'd be meeting the character of the Master, wouldn't I? As you say, you're not meeting the person themselves exactly for that moment.
Yeah. Is the line between kind of themselves and the character?
Yeah.
Is when you've
and I suppose that's the thing, because
it?
when you do go into a Q&A, and I say we went through that one where we were up on stage, all the questions are pointed towards the actor, but they're always pointed to the actor about
their character.
Their character, generally.
Generally, yeah.
So they're answering it as their character for the most part.
Yes, it's a very...
In episode 3, when the bipolar thing went to the left and, I don't know, whatever, you reverse the polarity. Why didn't you push the red switch when you pressed the blue switch before?
Or Wizard did it.
Yeah, Wizard did it. That's it.
Well, I suppose, again, in that sense of fandom, does it become that point where somebody is so, focused on the minute details of something that it becomes an obsession?
Well, we've been through this, yeah.
Well, we have.
So, I don't know.
It kind of feels like this conversation kind of goes in a circle. It's a loop. There's no definitive answers here.
I think we need to get in another guest. And we're going to get in another
to get a different perspective.
I've got a chap lined up. Shall I tell you who?
Go on then.
It's a chap called Scott Goodman, and he is, in my opinion, probably the UK's best character actor, playing John Pertwee as the Doctor. And so you're talking the third Doctor. He has the voice, he has the look, everything. So if you're a person who actually dresses as the part of a character, so you portray, basically, you look like the actor, and then you can play the part of the character, and you can mimic the voice and you wear the costumes, surely that must make you, or that individual, a superfan. So I've contacted Scott. So when Scott comes in, maybe then we'll find out what makes a superfan tick, if he considers himself a superfan. Well, this has been a very, very interesting discussion. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Still,
opened a lot of questions.
Answered some, created more.
Yeah.
Open doors, closed doors. It's been an interesting journey so far. I'm trying to track down what a superfan is.
But I still feel like we're still on the precipice of trying to define it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I feel that because people use the term superfan, it must be a definitive kind of designation.
Yeah.
Is there really such a thing as a superfan, or is it literally just people are fans?
And there's no delineation.
And it's just the media that likes to use the term superfan. We're going to find out. We will find out. So to round off, it's time for
Wisdom of the Week.
And Wisdom of the Week this week is, when doing a low squat, don't do it with a chopstick in your pocket.
I mean, that's just.
Yeah, a little bit of humorous wisdom, but
I mean, it's true.
it is true.
That's quite funny. Did you hear that somewhere?
Possibly. Maybe somebody called Poe.
Who looks like a panda.
Looks like a panda. Yeah, but I like that. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to take that for Wisdom of the Week. Just remember, doing a low squat, don't do it with a chopstick in your pocket.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a fan-dubby-dozy goodbye from Zach.
And a fantastic goodbye from Buzz.
I see what he did there.
Yeah, I did. Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.